Two words. Insulin motherfucking resistance. Give a disclaimer on this video because I found out some shit over the past week of research that I've been doing. Some things that maybe not everyone is going to agree with out there in the nutrition community and the fuckmaster community, and you know, all those people that think a calorie is the reason that we're fat, that don't subscribe to the hormonal obesity hypothesis, and who basically are just feeding off this media-fed food culture that we live in that has given us the worst diabetes, obesity, cancer, and heart disease epidemic known to man. I mean, in the past 40 years, we've fucked ourselves up pretty good. So, this is going to be a long video, so you might want to watch it in chunks or whatever. I want to preface this by saying that what I always say in all my videos is that I'm not a fucking expert. I am just an asshole who has done shit tons of research, tested that research on himself, and gotten results. And I'm sharing my knowledge and the things that I've done to dramatically change my health. And I'm the first to tell you, I'm not all the way there yet, but I'm getting there, and I'm gonna fucking get there. And I know I'm gonna get there because I'm confident in the knowledge I've gained, especially this week. This week is going to be a turning point for me, I think. So before I get into, you know, what I'm planning on doing differently in the coming months and years, yeah, I said fucking years, I'm going to cover two things. First thing I'm going to say is what led me to some of the realizations that I'm about to fucking share with you, which is kind of just like, it was like a little last nugget of fucking puzzle piece that, you know, through all the research I've done and all the things I've tried and experimented with in the weight loss arena, the things that I learned this week just kind of fit right into all of that perfectly, and really fucking got me to that spot, that you know, holy shit moment that I've always been reaching for through all of this. And some of it's the things that I'm seeing are pretty fucking fucked up, you know, and it made perfect sense. It's like I've been building this fucking puzzle for the past 2 years on why I got fat, how I can be thin, and how I can stay thin and be healthy thin, not just thin. But we'll get into that later on in the video. So there's two things that I did this week with my free time, you know, and I pretty much blew off everything else to do these two things. First thing I did is I read the book, mostly an audiobook, unabridged, called Fat Chance by Dr. Lustig, whom, if you're not familiar with him, you can just Google The Truth About Sugar. He does this very viral video that went out about how sugar and processed food has pretty much fucked us. And he does it scientifically. And as many of you know, if you don't have a fucking study or some kind of scientific proof of your theory, then I'm going to take a big shit on you. And it has to be an unbiased study. And there aren't a lot of those floating around. And later on, I might get into in other videos on how to discern fear-based shitty studies to actual science. And I say fuck a lot. I talk a lot of shit. And lately my videos have been focused on the fasting aspect of it and being able to eat certain foods that we're not supposed to eat, and how I'm been using fasting to get through that, while saying that's not the best way of doing it, and which goes to say that I haven't been doing the best thing that I'm supposed to be doing for probably the past, I don't know how many months. You can go back to when I was ketogenic, and when I decided to come off of the ketogenic diet, mainly due to circumstances, not because I didn't like the food, not because I was hungry, not because of anything else other than my circumstances changed, and I thought it would be too difficult to do the diet and be in the truck and on the road and all of that. And you guys know that have been sticking with me, there was a period of time where I didn't do much in the way of videos. I was having a very rough time with things, and we're going to cover that in this video. I'm going to tell you how I got here, where I came from, and where I'm going. That's what this video is about. And from the title, Why Are You Fat and Why Are You Sick? We're going to cover why I think I'm fat, and notice that's present tense, and why I think I am sick, and why I also think a lot of people in our society are currently sick. And the other thing that got me fired up on this fucking topic, Professor Tim Noakes, now you can Google him. He shows up in a lot of low-carb, high-fat fucking documentaries and talks some smack. And I never really took the time to sit down and take a look at Tim Noakes. You know, a lot of you know that I'm a fan of Dr. Lustig, although I disagree with some of the things he says. But overall, we're on the same page. And Jason Fung, whom I have deep respect for his clinical application of fasting, and probably to a lesser degree on the diet side of things, but he seems to have focused a lot of what he says on the fasting side of the house, and his treatment of diabetics and morbidly obese patients using those methods being a relative success. So that's the boring shit. We'll get that out of the way. We're gonna get to the good stuff on why I am who I am and how I got here and where I'm going. And hopefully in hearing my story, you might hear a little bit of things that you can relate to on how you may be fat or you may have metabolic illness. Because here's a big fucking thing, a big statistic that you can go out and find out. And 40% in the world, probably at this point, 40% of thin people, have visceral fat, insulin resistance, and metabolic diseases, whether it's heart disease, cancer, diabetes, obesity, fatty liver, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I might have both of them. The fatty, non-alcohol fatty liver I probably got mixed with I pretty much qualify for both because I was an alcoholic for a long time. But we'll get into that. So, all of these are metabolic diseases, and it's not just fat fucks like me that got affected by it. Skinny people are dropping dead in their 40s, 50s, and 60s from diseases that should not fuck with them until they're in their 80s, 70s, and 80s. And there's a profound fucking reason for that. This is not, we've forgotten some of the shit that we used to know that prevented a lot of these diseases. And then there's still primitive societies today on this earth that don't even know what these diseases are because they don't exist in their population. Yeah. That's pretty strong evidence. I mean, you can go and find these motherfuckers. You can see what the fuck they're eating. You can see that they don't even know what a fucking gym is. They don't know what the fuck master looks like. Their idea of exercise is having to go to work or to go fucking hunt and gather. So keep that shit in mind. You can't, because there's so much marketing and so much advertising in the nutrition, health, and, fitness communities. And it is so corrupted at this point that you really have to do your own research and your own experimentation. Try the different things. Like I've always said, try it. If it works, good job. If you're happy with the way you are, and you're happy with your weight, and you're happy with your health, then more power to you. But there's an alarming trend that people think they are, and they suddenly become ill. And they suddenly become ill with metabolic diseases that could be prevented. Yeah, you can prevent this shit. You can even reverse some of it. And we're going to get into how. So, my recommendation about Tim Noakes. Here's what happened with Tim Noakes. He is currently in the middle of defending his license to practice medicine in South Africa. The HSPC something or other, I don't know. I didn't write it down. And I wing a lot of my shit. I write right now, very rarely do I take notes, on things that top bullet points I need to talk about. And that's how important I feel it is to lay out my thoughts here, that I wrote my bullet points down. But anyways, he went on Twitter. Somebody on Twitter, much like you guys comment on my videos, somebody came on Twitter and asked if it was okay, how to wean their kid, their baby. Just gave birth not too long ago. How to wean their baby off breast milk. Or what to feed their baby. And he responded on Twitter with that high-fat breast milk is his recommendation, and that the baby should be weaned onto a low-carb, high-fat diet. And then this person came back, probably at the behest of a lot of medical, food, and drug industries, came and brought a case against him to try and get his license to practice medicine removed, which he doesn't need. He hasn't practiced medicine since, by his own admission, since 2000 or something like that. He's published several low-carb, high-fat, ketogenic books. He is a scientist. He believes in proving the shit he says, and does experiments and trials. He reads every fucking goddamn peer-reviewed fucking paper you can find on the subject. Every little bit of research and books, all the books on the subject this motherfucker's read. So you and I don't have time to do the level of research that he's done. He used to be and to some degree still is, I would assume he still is, in sports medicine. That's one of the motherfuckers that used to tell you to eat carbs and pound the fuckmaster. He made a living telling athletes how to optimize their performance and how to lose weight, and he himself was a runner. Marathon. Fit as a fiddle. Can't get no thinner than he got. And here's what happened. Here's what sent him on this path to learn and experiment and now be an advocate for the ketogenic diet. His father, first of all, died of diabetes. And he was treated with the conventional wisdom, which if you go into the fucking doctor's office right now today and you're a diabetic, they're going to tell you to eat moderate carbs, not eat sugar, which finally we got that into the mix, but it wasn't always there. They're going to pump you with some kind of drug, metformin. They might even, if you're really fucked up, give you insulin, which we all know, if you've been watching me long enough, is the bad fucking choice. So they did all that to his father. His father died. So he's already pissed that happened. Then he finds out he's got it too. Healthy as fuck. Knows everything to do in the realm of exercise. Followed the fucking calorie in, calorie out diet heart hypothesis to the letter. Ends up with diabetes. Why the fuck that happened? But he's not a sit on his hands kind of guy. He wants to know why. And he went out and found out why. And he had to go through unconventional ways, much like many of you who have helped yourself by watching my dumbass and other dumbasses like me on the internet going, hey, I did this and this is what it's doing. And he took that and began to follow the likes of Gary Taubes, Good Calories, Bad Calories, good book, read that. And other scientists, Peter Attia, or I can't pronounce all the fucking names, but you get my point. There's other motherfuckers who are doing research actively in this field. And there's been tests on everything from athletic performance on a ketogenic diet to weight loss. There are several YouTubers who are very fit and ketogenic. There was this bodybuilder that I came across. I don't remember his fucking name, but I'm sure if you do enough ketogenic research, you'll come across his channel. There's all kinds of motherfuckers doing this successfully. Both obese people that are losing shit tons of weight and people that are doing fitness, that are bodybuilding on this shit. And there's endurance athletes that have fat adapted and outperform their carb burning counterparts. All of this is out there. All this fucking knowledge is out there for the taking right now. Food industry doesn't want you to know that shit. Exercise industry does not want you to know that shit. Diet and supplement industry does not want you to know this shit. Government does not want you to know this shit. Big food, all of them fuckers. Everyone that's got a goddamn financial fucking dog in the race does not want you to know this shit. But thanks to the motherfucking internet and dickheads like me, you get to find it out. And I'm always encouraging you to not just take my word for it. Go out there and do your homework. Google that shit. Now you're going to come across contradicting information, and it's going to be your job to sort through what's real and what's fucking bullshit. Because if one thing's for sure in our current fucking society, the internet is filled with fucking bullshit. And you gotta sort that shit out. And it sucks that you have to sort it out. I fucking don't like doing all this goddamn research. It's fucking laborious. I would much rather just have the fucking government tell me the best thing for my health, and then I go do that and I'm fucking healthy. But we can't have that, can we? And you know what? Nobody in the world seems to be having that. We're all doing the same stupid shit, and we're dying because of it. And I'm passionate about this subject because it directly affects not only me with my issues, but I've had many family members suffer from these diseases. I have lost people to these diseases. And my girlfriend right now has diabetes. So I have a vested interest in learning this shit and fixing it. Otherwise, one of us could die from this shit. And it could be prevented. And it's so, which means if we die from these illnesses with our knowledge, we're stupid. And I don't want to be dumb. Do you want to be dumb? I want to be smart. And I feel like I've gotten smarter doing these things. Not just I'm thinking on a fucking mental level, that the clarity I've gotten from fasting, and whenever I cut the carbs and sugar out, it seems like my brain just fucking nails it. And that's what we're at right now. I haven't had any carbs. It's Friday. I haven't had any carbs all week. Well, under 25 grams, we'll put it that way. There has been some vegetables and some nuts in my diet this week. And I made a few other changes. I got rid of Splenda. And the reason I got rid of Splenda was the hunger issue. Like, I would get hungrier quicker because of sucralose. And whatever the fuck else, maltodextrin or whatever the hell that is, the sugar, which is one of the names for sugar, that they mix with it. And then somehow they jerk off the Food and Drug Administration and not tell you there's 4 calories in every packet. Which, if you think about it, that amounts to almost a pack of sugar. In fact, it's about the same calorie count as a pack of sugar. So it makes sense that Splenda was driving my sugar addiction. So Tim Noakes got this huge, and you'll find a link to the channel in the description. If you go to the channel Cape Town Live, you can search it, or if you search Tim Noakes, that's Noak, hold on, where the fuck is it? Noakes. Search that name, and this is free. This just requires time on your part. So take a day off from work. That's how important this shit is. And this is an ongoing case. It's been adjourned till April of this year. So if you're watching this within a few weeks of me making this video, that's where we're at. Now, I haven't even finished the deposition. That's how long this deposition is. And it starts out at part 1. And I'll have the link to the first video in the description. Just go to the channel Cape Town Live. The alarming thing I'm seeing, because this is the only version of this video that I could find. At first I thought maybe it was a repost because it didn't have a lot of views. But this is quite possibly the most complete case for the ketogenic diet that, in my research, and I've done a lot, he lays it out perfectly. But it's hard to digest because it's very long. Because he's in court trying to convince doctors that he's being ethical, that even though his advice doesn't conform to their guidelines, which their guidelines are shit, just like our guidelines here in the United States, they're shit. They're fucked up and based on goddamn profit, not on health. And if you dig deep enough, and he lays out the entire case, he goes through how we evolved, what diet we've eaten for millions of years that suddenly we can't eat no more. And since we've been told that we can't eat the way we've eaten for millions of fucking years anymore, what happened? When we followed that advice, what the fuck did that do to our population? And I can tell you, you don't gotta look very far. You don't even have to know what the media says that as far as the obesity and diabetes and cancer epidemic. Chances are, if you're watching this, you can look around at your next visit to the supermarket and see that over half the people are either overweight or obese in the supermarket. And if you look in their carts and see what they're buying, chances are you're going to see why they are obese or overweight. And then if you think about what you're doing to be obese and overweight, kind of clicks. So this is all, a lot of this is common sense. We just got to have it put together for us a little bit by people who are smarter than us. And this guy is smarter than me, definitely, and more experienced. So I have a lot of respect for someone who lays out proof. Don't just tell me your fucking thoughts and your theories and your hypotheses. Give me some proof to go on. And when I fit this deposition into the things I've personally done and seen others do successfully, and I know what he's saying is the truth based on my own experiences with the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting. And if you're not willing to try this shit, then you're probably not going to believe me or him or anybody. If you're happy, like I said, if you're happy being a vegan or whatever and eating lots of carbs and fruit and, you know, all of that, and you think that's the way to go, more power to you. I'm not going to change your mind. Nothing I say in this fucking video. In fact, it'll probably piss you off and you'll go talk shit about me somewhere and say, this guy doesn't know shit. Or you could just prove that I don't know shit. Try it. Legit try it. Don't be biased. Don't try and sabotage it. Dedicate yourself to trying these things. And if I'm wrong, then tell me. I'd like to know. But the feedback that I get from this channel is the things that I've been saying have been helping people. People have been telling me, hey, I've been listening to you, been watching your videos for a while, lost such and such amount of weight, keep it up, you're doing a good job. I get a lot of that. And it really makes it worth it. Even if YouTube told me to fuck myself and they weren't going to pay me anymore for these videos, and trust me, I'm not making a shit ton of money here. I make, on average, here's a little nugget for those of you that are sticking through the video. On average, my YouTube brings about $50 a month. I earn $50 a month on YouTube. And I tell you, I put a hell of a lot of hours into the videos I do. So, that's what I earn. I don't have a Patreon. I never really pimped out the fan funding thing. I did get a few of you who donated there, but other than that, it's been ad revenue only, and I only make $50 a video, or $50 a month on videos. I've had this channel 2 years, and I'm just now approaching $1,000 earned. There's my finances from YouTube, for those of you who think I'm just doing this for the money. Full disclosure there. I have no sponsorships. I have nobody looking to do a deal with me. It's just me, this fucking camera, and you, and some ad revenue. And I'm really surprised I haven't lost the ad revenue at this point. Because I say fuck, and I piss people off. And we're in the society where if you do anything that offends anybody, they're going to try and destroy you. And at some point, somebody's going to probably come at me and try and fuck me up. But it'll be too late by then, because I'll have already gotten my point across and my message out. So I'm not doing it for the money. Trust me, there's better ways to earn money. I just know I drive. I make lots of money driving, so I don't need to earn it on YouTube yet. I wish I could earn a living doing these, because I could do a whole hell of a lot more videos that way. But for the time being, I don't make a shit ton of money on my YouTube endeavors. It's probably one of my lower end incomes at this point. So I got off on that little tangent there. So go to Cape Town Live, watch Tim Noakes' deposition. I'm going to put a link to the first video in the description, but there are like 80 of them. I've watched 60-ish, I think, of them. I'm losing track. I have to go back in my history and figure out where I left off. But I'm in the process of watching these motherfuckers, and it's going to take a lot of time to get through that. Worth it. Every fucking minute. To the point that I don't want to fuck off. I want to finish it. I'm on the weekend. I normally save my research time for when I'm in the truck. And I try and fuck off and relax on the weekends. But this weekend, I'm going to finish as much of this as I can. I want to get through it. So go and don't just take my word for shit. He lays out the case for this, and he cites the proof, and some of the things he's going to tell you that I'm going to also reiterate in this video are really going to fucking upset you. Because they did me. When when this deposition was going and I see what's going on in the medical community, it's infuriating, mainly because I've lost people to this. And I don't want to lose no one else to it. Not if I can prevent it. Or at least to be able to say that, hey, I tried. I gave them all the tools they needed, and they still didn't do what they needed to do to fix themselves. So at least I tried. But to know that I did everything in my power for the people I care about, and everything in my power to also fix my own issues, that way if we all still fucking die, at least I have a clear conscience on it. So, that was the first half of the video. Now, I'm going to tell you where I fit into all of this. And a lot of you might not know the full, complete weight loss story. In order to get that, you really would have had to have watched me or binge watched all my videos, which I'm not thinking anyone's really doing that. A lot of you, this will probably be news to. Okay, so I was born in the 70s. I'm not going to get specific, mid-70s. My mother was a single mother at the time. I don't know my biological father. I've never really met him. He didn't have the balls to come at me. Anyways, we're going to talk about my nutrition growing up. You see, around the time I was born, processed food was born. It was born a lot sooner, but it really took off around the time I was born, a couple years after I was born. And so I was brought up with a bowl of cereal every morning. Every morning. Sugary ass fucked up cereal. My mother likes to bake, so there was also tons of baked goods. Pasta and potatoes and all kinds of carbs. All fucking kinds. Throughout my childhood. I always have a gut. Throughout my life, even when I was normal body weight, normal BMI. Want to know how I was knew I was normal BMI? Because I had to get it checked to get into the military. Joined the Air Force at age 17. Throughout my childhood, I did everything wrong. At one point, they even tried to cut my sugar by making me drink diet soda, aspartame. What the aspartame ended up doing to me from drinking that diet soda is made me really want sugar. Like, before I just was like, sugar. Okay. When I was drinking the diet soda, I was consumed with thoughts of sugar and trying to seek it out and sneak it and Turns out it was in a lot of the processed foods that I was being fed, so it really didn't fucking matter. You know, for example, I wasn't allowed to drink soda, but I could easily drink juice, which is the equivalent of soda. Oh, by the way, in case you didn't figure that shit out, when you juice your fruit and you take all the fiber out, you might as well be drinking a fucking Mountain Dew. Metabolically, the same. So, I always had the gut. Always had the big round belly. Never seen an ab in my life. I don't know what my fucking abs look like. I'd like to see them. I tried to see them and I still haven't seen them. I want to see them still. I'm making one last push, I think, to maybe see at least one of them or two. And a lot of you are going to be like, yeah, go pound the fuck, master. No, abs are made in the kitchen. And it's proven. So, do your homework. But then again, I don't know what my abs look like. And to be honest, when your body fat gets to the point where you can see your abs, it's probably on the low side and probably not healthy. And really hard to maintain for a lot of us. So, I joined the military. Now, you would think the military would promote, you know, healthy diets to keep us fit to fight and blah, 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 blah. I was one of them motherfuckers eating ice cream in basic training. That's right. First I'd have my starchy carb, probably sugar-laden sauces on my fucking meats, and then I would go over and load up on cake and sugar. At one point, the drill sergeants, they sent me back to get, like, I was one of the few that had the balls. That's how addicted to sugar I was. You had to have balls to go up, because you have to walk past a goddamn fucking table full of fucking asshole goddamn drill sergeants whose only mission in life is to make you feel like shit and to tear you down so that they can build you up or something. That's their theory. So I had to, if you wanted cake and ice cream during fucking chow, you had to walk past a table full of these motherfuckers. And they were looking at you and they're like, I shit you not, there was a couple times where I went and got my cake, I put a shit ton of ice cream on top of it, and was on the way back to the table to eat it. They made me turn around and put more ice cream on it. They were fucking with me. They couldn't tell me not to. You would think, you know, I'm in the military, they could order me not to fucking eat that shit. But they didn't. And my body weight was fine. I was within the standards. I had the gut. I was out of shape. I wasn't running very far or doing very well in that sense. But that was me. I wanted sugar, cake, ice cream, and drank soda my whole life. And the gut slowly began to grow. And it probably started growing right around the time I turned 20-ish. My weight started to creep. Slowly. Over time. Took a long time. Wasn't an overnight process. So, another thing that I did that wasn't doing my liver any favors and was contributing to my insulin resistance. By the way, eating tons of sugar and carbs contributes to insulin resistance. It will make your insulin resistance worse without fail, no matter how healthy you are. It's just whether or not how long it takes before you're fucked. But we'll get to that in a minute, because we're going to get into how I fit into this. And so I continued along that path. I fucking was eating sugar and carbs left and right, fast food. The chow hall was essentially fast food, and I pushed all the way through that. I don't want to get too much into my personal history on a non-diet side of things because there's a lot of bad things that I've had to go through during that period, but I drank a lot. A lot. I probably was a classic alcoholic. So it makes sense. You know, I'm addicted to sugar. Why not be addicted to alcohol? And that pattern continued for the majority of my life. In fact, it's only a recent phenomenon where I quit drinking. Here's an announcement for you. Yeah, I haven't really shared that yet. New Year's, I quit drinking. I haven't had a drink since New Year's. And I don't want to. I don't want to go back. I've kicked alcohol. Fuck you, alcohol. Goodbye. That's me. Now I'm looking to do it with sugar. So, I kicked the habit of alcohol, but for the majority of my life, it was an essential part of, I wanted to get fucked up. I've even done videos on the subject, how to get fucked up while on keto and fasting. And it worked. My theories on how to drink worked. I didn't gain any weight when I was drinking that shit, but I wasn't doing myself any favors either. So, over time, getting back to my 20s, over time, I began to put on weight. By the time I reached my 30s, I was overweight. And the military caught on that I was overweight, and they were like, look, you're fat. Guess what you gotta do? You gotta eat less and go to the fucking gym and eat fruits and grains and meh. That's what I was told. I was told to eat the motherfucking food pyramid and go bust my ass in the gym. And I did it. Didn't do shit. Not a goddamn thing for me. Why? Because I was still having tons of carbs and sugar. So I lost a few pounds, like 5. I think I've taken shits that weigh more than 5. But I lost a little bit of weight doing it that way. But it quickly stopped and stalled. So I was desperate. Because they were fucking with me. And I wanted them to not fuck with me. I don't like being fucked with. The military was fucking with me. For other reasons too. It turns out when you're an alcoholic you get in a lot of trouble. But that's a whole other story. But they started fucking with me about my weight. And I didn't get promoted because of my weight. I couldn't even test to be promoted because of my weight. And slowly I was moving from, this diet exercise bullshit went on for quite a while. Like, I spent a few years battling this shit. Finally, out of desperation, after I hit the obese mark, I read a book by Dr. Atkins. And the reason I read the book was because a buddy of mine, he was also fat, and we went out to eat somewhere, and he was taking bread off of shit, throwing it away, and eating just a steak. And I asked him, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, I'm doing low carb so that I can eat however much I want. And I was intrigued by that. What? You can eat whatever fuck you want to eat? No, I can't eat carbs, but I can eat whatever. I can eat steak and fucking eggs and bacon and burgers with no bun and all the meat and fat that I can eat. I love it. And I was like, oh, maybe that'll work for me. So I did it. I went on the Atkins diet. But I didn't do it right. You know why I didn't do it right? I had cheat days. Regular cheat days. Sometimes every weekend cheat days. Much like I've been doing recently. And it became a real struggle. I got down, doing the Atkins diet, I got down into my 190s again. I was at 225, at the time, and I got down to 195. And by the time I hit 195, I was insanely craving sugar, carbs, and bread to the point where I just gave in and failed the Atkins diet. Why? Because I kept cheating. And when you keep giving yourself sugar and carbs, you can't break the addiction. You have to go cold turkey on that shit. You can't have cheat days if you're going to fat adapt. I know that now. I didn't know that then, and we didn't have a lot of the research then that we have now. And if I'd have known then what I know now, I'd have been promoted no problem, at least from the weight loss perspective. So I tried Atkins and failed at it, all the while still pounding the fuckmaster. Got my weight down within their tolerance, but I just couldn't keep it up. In order to maintain it, I had to stay on Atkins. I couldn't just leave Atkins. Okay, I lost my weight, I'm good, right? And then go back to... No. Because as soon as I did that, back up. Took a little while. You know, it wasn't like quick. It took a few months. Wait a minute. That's pretty quick, isn't it? So, by the time I got out of the military, high year tenure, because I couldn't get promoted and they have this up or out system, so I had to get out. I was fat, couldn't lose the weight, so they couldn't re-enlist me. I would have probably re-enlisted, but I was fat. They were not really giving me good advice to not be fat, so out I went and chose trucking as the career to get into to maintain money. Because I didn't want to go get out of the military and make shit money. I wanted to make good money. Unfortunately, when you get in an industry, you start at the bottom, and I didn't make good money for a while. But eventually I made good money in trucking. But that's a whole other story. Of course, we know trucking isn't exactly a good environment for fat people. However, once I got out of the military, I don't know whether it was a reduction in stress or what have you, I lost 10 pounds right off the gate. But I gained it back. I don't know what happened, but there was a period of time after the military where I dropped down to 225 from 235, which is what I got. I weighed 235 when I got out of the military. Over the course of my trucking, my weight continued to creep up. And I got up to about 255 pounds. In fact, that's exactly the weight I got to before I said, shit, this isn't good. And for a while, I was one of them fat fucks that's like, it's okay to be fat. Fuck you. If you don't like fat people, there's something wrong with you. And I was singing all of the, fat people are beautiful too kind of crap memes that you see all over fucking Facebook. I was advocating for fat people having rights and all of that. I was like, it's fat is good. Yes, it's good to be fat. Fuck you skinny fuckers. I was all about that. I was totally okay with being fat. But I knew that I was on the path to disaster. And the reason I knew that is I had watched people in my family and friends succumb to the diseases that come along with being a fat motherfucker. And a lot of you are struggling with these diseases right now. I've been pretty fortunate. During the time of my trucking, there was a period of time where I pissed sugar. And my way of dealing with it, and this kind of helped spur me along with the 255 pound weight. Around the time I hit 255 pounds, I took my DOT physical and they found sugar in my urine, which is a sign of diabetes. So I panicked. I was like, I can't lose my job. And this kind of started to set me on the path. But my solution to that problem was every time I took a piss test, I would drink nothing but water for the day or two before if I knew it was coming. And didn't piss sugar. So I was pre-diabetic. Clearly. They did the blood glucose test on me and I passed. But the blood glucose test is only a test of a symptom of diabetes. It's not a test for insulin and insulin resistance. They can test insulin levels. And they can tell if your fucking baseline insulin's high, whether or not you're diabetic or pre-diabetic. But we don't test for that, do we? They don't check. There's no blood test I've ever had where they told me what my insulin level was. It's all about A1C, which is an average of your blood sugar, or your actual fucking blood sugar levels. That's how they diagnose diabetes right now, and it's fucking wrong. Because you can be diabetic and have normal blood sugar levels. Here's a fact you didn't know, and I learned that through Tim Noakes' deposition. A couple other disturbing things related to insulin resistance and diabetes I learned from that too. But what I'm trying to say is I was on the path to diabetes at 255 pounds, and I knew it. Didn't want to know it, because I like my Mountain Dew, I like my fucking pizza, I like my cakes. I used to eat donuts like they were fucking free. They had a goddamn box of donuts. I would go in a truck stop, buy a fucking box of donuts, keep it right over the goddamn steering wheel, and while I'm going down the road, I'm stuffing my fat fucking face with donuts. Bad move, huh? So I started to do things. First thing I did was quit Mountain Dew. However, I drank Gatorade, thinking Gatorade was somehow fucking healthier for me than motherfucking Mountain Dew. Boy, was I fucking dumb. And you can even go back to some of my earliest videos on this channel, which were just a trucking vlog at the time, where I didn't give a fuck about any of this. And you'll see me drinking Gatorade in the video, while being fat in the video. Noticeably fatter than I am now. Put me right now side by side with my fat fucking head a couple years ago and you will see a huge difference. Huge being the operative word. Because I thought Gatorade, the athletes are drinking it, so it must be fucking good for you. No. It's not. Not fucking good for you. But I thought it was. Then I began to start researching and finding out how to lose weight. And I was going down the path of pounding the fuckmaster and trying to figure out what diet. Now I remembered my experiences from prior attempts at weight loss. And I remembered that the Atkins diet helped me lose weight. But I also remember I was insanely addicted to sugar and still to this day am. Right now as I fucking do this, I would love to have a cookie right now. Not so much soda, I cured myself of that. But I'm still definitely addicted to sugar and carbs. And I need to resolve that. So I ended up researching and came across fasting and intermittent fasting. And I was like, that sounds pretty fucking easy. Because for some reason for me, not eating anything was better than jerking myself off with low calorie. You know, because when I was eating low calorie, counting calories and only eating, a 500 calorie deficit, I started out at that. I started out going to gym, got a membership at Bally's, Total Fitness bullshit, who has since gone out of business because they suck. I got a membership to the fucking gym. I started intermittent fasting and eating a calorie deficit, and I was fucking starving the whole time. As I went on, my fasts became more effective. And I figured out that maybe I don't need to be in such a calorie deficit when I'm fasting. I just need to fast. And it became more about trying to eat a human being sized meal, as in a meal that I enjoy and am satisfied with, filled with carbs and sugar, and I would just offset it with appropriate amount of fasting to continue my weight loss. And I used that approach for most of my weight loss. I'd say the first 46 to 50 pounds of weight loss I achieved, I did so eating carbs and sugar and doing exceedingly longer fasts. And as the weight came down, the fasts had to grow. So that leads me to the next big change I made, which is I got to a point in my fasting where I was damn near the 50-pound mark. I believe I hit the 50-pound mark, but I was struggling to keep it there. It was wanting to go up. Like every time that I ate, it wanted to go back. And I was ravenous. Like, I would get ravenously hungry and couldn't, for the life of me, figure out why. Everyone's telling me fasting gets rid of hunger after a while, and if you just plow through your hunger pangs, they go away. Well, guess what? There were points where the fasting, I was just hungry, and I couldn't stop being hungry. So I started to look into that. What can I eat that won't fuck me up, make me hungry, that'll satisfy me? Turns out ketogenic diet is great at fucking appetite control. It wasn't until later I learned that all of these are hormonal issues. And that's something else you'll learn by watching that deposition or reading some of the books I've read. But your hormones are what control whether you're hungry, whether you store fat, whether you burn fat. It controls what's called homeostasis. Your body, before you got fucked up like the rest of us, used to be able to do this job. You didn't need a goddamn Fitbit. You didn't need to fucking count your calories. You didn't need a fucking food label. You didn't need to go to the gym. You didn't need to do any of that. Your body's hormones and your homeostatic system, or whatever the fuck you call it, well, not an expert, just an asshole. Your system is capable of regulating your body weight at a healthy level if you are eating properly. If you are eating what you are genetically fucking designed to eat, your body takes care of the rest. As in, you only get as hungry as you need to eat. If you ever notice you exercise a lot, guess what? You get hungrier. That's that system at work. It knows what you're burning, and it makes you want to eat to compensate. That's why most people that lose weight through diet and exercise regain it the minute they stop the exercise. Because the body's like, fuck, I gotta get back to I'm dying. I gotta eat. You know, it's a little more complicated than that. And if you really dig into the science, which I have, and the biochemistry, not the blog that you read from the fucking Veganator, go read science. Read what the hormones do. Read how they regulate these things. And you will find undisputable proof of what you should be doing to keep your weight off. And that's how I've been keeping my weight off, is by knowing how my fucking body works. That's the biggest battle you need to conquer if you're going to conquer your weight. You need to know why you got fat. And I think you know where I'm going with this, based on my personal experience and my weight loss and my current struggle, which we're about to get into. I realize this is a long fucking video. We're going all the way on this video. This will be the longest fucking video I've done so far. We're at an hour on the clock right now. So you know where I'm going with this. Sugar, carbs, insulin resistance, all adds up. It all clicks. What I learned that is disturbing to me is we are born insulin resistant. Why? It's a normal part of our condition. You are insulin resistant. Do you know why you're insulin resistant? Because we did not evolve to consume this carbohydrate-rich environment that we are currently exposed to. The food diet changed, but we hadn't evolved to eat it yet. Now, there are people that have. And if you're one of them fucking people, I'd gauge anywhere between 10 and 20% of the population of the world is able to consume a high carbohydrate diet and flourish on it. But it's pretty easy to figure out that if you're not one of them fuckers, you don't have to fucking be a great scientist to realize that maybe you got that little pooch around your stomach, or that you need a nap in the middle of the fucking day because you fucking get tired and have these crashes, or that you feel like shit most of the time, or any of these issues that are a pretty strong indicator that you are not a carb burner. Yeah, I said it. That's gonna piss vegans off all over the fucking place. You're not a carb burner. You were genetically predispositioned to eat high fat, low carb. And it's the diet that not only most of the human race evolved on. We evolved on the hunting with a minimal of gathering. Because a lot of plants are designed for you not to eat them. They have natural plant defenses. Watch any survival show and watch how hard of a struggle it is to find edible foods that are plant-based. And you'll also see in that process how many of the motherfuckers end up craving fat and protein. And it's all they talk about and they're consumed with. And they're so thankful when they get it. You'd think that they were eating the best goddamn thing they've ever eaten in their entire fucking lives when they catch an animal and fucking kill it and eat it. But they don't seem very satisfied when they're eating the goddamn coconuts and the fucking little fruits that they come across, if they're lucky enough to even find fruit, which most of the time they're not. And a lot of them don't seem to even know to dig up to try and get some starchiness into their life, but when they do, it tends to taste like a whole bag of shit. It's not, these aren't food, plants don't want you to eat them. Which makes the vegan thing completely drive me nuts. Because plants have a lot of natural defenses, and in order to eat them, you have to process them. Which is why vegan diets are so laden with fucking processed foods. But meat, all we gotta do is cook it, and we can eat it. Fat, you could probably almost eat fat raw. And you'll be fine. And a lot of primitive cultures, to this very day, eat high fat, low carb. Now I realize there are some barriers to high fat, low carb, and we can discuss that at length, but let's just narrow it down. Economy and food environment. There are many environments where they didn't have a lot of animals left. They hunted them to extinction, so they had to go with the carbs. They had to eat the shit. No choice. It's either that or fucking starve. And in a situation like that, I could see that, yeah, maybe getting diabetes and cancer and heart disease and all of that is a nice, healthy alternative to starvation. We ain't got that problem here in America. I'm sorry. I've been through many a food desert. And if you really look, you can find the foods that you need to eat to be healthy and avoid the foods that are killing us. But it does suck. It's not fun. It's not easy. And it's not cheap in a lot of cases. But that doesn't mean you're fucked. Eggs aren't that expensive. I'm sorry, but the price of a dozen eggs, which should feed you probably for a good couple days, calorie-wise and fat protein-wise. You throw some cheese, some cheap-ass cheese on it, try and get the least processed shit, and you got a ketogenic meal right there. And you know what? lettuce isn't that expensive, and spinach, and salads, and so if you really dug deep, you could probably eat keto on a budget, and I'm going to test that. But what I'm trying to say is I can understand if you are in an area or in a situation where you can't find ketogenic foods. Then you're just fucked because of your circumstances, and I guess you might as well eat the carbs and fast a lot to try and make up for it, but it's not going to get you all the way there. And that's the message I'm trying to say. I am a huge fasting advocate because it's how we're designed to eat. But I'm here to tell you it's not going to get you the whole way. You're going to have, if you want to go all the way, you want all the fat gone, you want the visceral fat gone. Fasting's great at the subcutaneous fat. Arms, face, legs, ass, in men. Women tend to hold their weight down there and, in the thighs and hips area as opposed to the belly area. That doesn't mean that their liver's any healthier. But if you want to lose that kind of fat, which by the way is pretty benign, that kind of fat isn't really hurting you. It's not. It's right there. Your muscles can use it. It's not a big deal. The fat that's hurting you is the fat in your visceral fat, the fat that surrounds your organs, your vital organs, and your liver. That's the fat that causes all these fucking problems. And the reason we accumulate that fat is we are insulin resistant, we are eating carbs and sugar, and because we are insulin resistant, we are turning that into fat. And it ain't the good fat. It's the artery clogging, go fuck yourself fat. And you don't need to fucking be a scientist to figure out where we're at health-wise and why we're here. You just got to look at the facts. What happened in the 70s that brought us to this point? Pretty clear, we changed our diet. We got rid of fat, and we upped and when you got rid of fat, you had to replace it with sugar. And otherwise the food tastes like ass. And unless you like eating ass, probably not going to like the food. So that's what happened. That's why we're fat. And we are born insulin resistant. And when you take an insulin resistant person and you feed them a high carb diet, low fat diet, they become even more insulin resistant. So agriculture got us part of the way there. Before the processed food revolution, people were getting these illnesses, but they were getting them in relatively old ages for the most part. My grandparents lived to their 70s, and they were eating carbs prior to the fast food revolution. My mother has just had a stroke in her 60s and is having to deal with these issues. But for the majority of her life was prior to our food environment of today. My girlfriend has diabetes in her 30s. I got overweight in my 30s and was on the path to diabetes by now. I probably would be diabetic had I not intervened right now. And I'm glad that I didn't, because diabetes really sucks. Because then you're really fucked. You have no choice. If you're diabetic, you got to get the carbs out of your life. You do. If you're diabetic, low fat, high carb is your only choice, not just fasting. My girlfriend's blood glucose has not been the best when she dropped off of the ketogenic diet with me, probably because I did it. I feel bad now that I did it. But she dropped off it too. She kept the fasting up, and the fasting does help. Prior to her starting the fasting, her blood sugar was not good at all. The fasting has gotten her levels down a bit, but when she has carbs and sugar, her blood sugar still shoots way the fuck up, which tells me, not only from the evidence that I've seen presented by Tim Noakes and others, it tells me that fasting does not cure insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is still there, and it is just as bad as you left it. If you take carbs and sugar out of your diet, the insulin resistance is still there, but it becomes benign, as in it won't cause these metabolic diseases because you're not fucking aggravating it by eating carbs and sugar and making it worse. So you will slow your progression to the inevitable disease that you will get into if you continue to eat carbs and sugar. So yes, you can buy yourself some time with fasting alone. You might add another 10 years to your life. As in, you won't die in your 40s, you'll probably die in your 50s, or maybe if you're really lucky, make it to your 60s. Depends on how much fasting you're doing. But you're still gonna fucking have these illnesses. You're just gonna take a little longer to get there than the people that aren't fasting, that are eating that way. So what I'm trying to say is, if you've been fasting and eating shit, and I know a lot of you do because that's my fucking most popular video, is how I lost 46 point something pounds by eating junk. And hey, I stand by that. You can do that. It is possible to lose a significant amount of weight. But when you get to the certain point, it's going to stop. And if you continue to eat carbs, you're going to have to do insanely long fasts to offset the effects of those. And you're not even going to get all the way there doing that. Now, I can back some of this up with my own experience. My lowest weight was 189. It was achieved doing 23-hour daily fasts, eating a ketogenic diet, with occasional 72-hour fasts, and even a 5-day fast I think I came close to doing. You throw all that fasting in together, I achieved a belly button waist size, as in measure around your belly, of 36 inches. Pretty close to healthy, but not there yet. And by healthy, I mean the upper end of healthy, like you're on the fucking border for a man. For women, I think it's even smaller. But I do believe 35 inches is one of the risk factors for metabolic syndrome. If you're over 35 inches around your belly, you are at increased risk for metabolic syndrome, which is just a combination of all these fucking diseases of insulin resistance I've been telling you about. And I'm there. And I'm definitely... I haven't been formally tested, but I'm pretty sure I have a fatty liver. I've drank enough and ate enough sugar and drank enough soda in my life that I'm surprised I don't have cirrhosis of the liver, but I'm pretty sure that I am insulin resistant and have a fatty liver. And when I do the interventions that are required to treat those issues, I show significant progress. And the lowest weight I've got into normal BMI, like I was at the upper end of normal BMI for 6 foot at 189. 175 is probably the ideal weight, maybe even 170 for my BMI and height. I look pretty fucking thin when I get down there. Still had visceral fat. Visceral fat has shrunk. And it got down to 36 inches. But when I quit the ketogenic diet, or when I had my numerous cheat weekends, I started to have cheat weekends, but I still stayed committed to the diet after I made the 6-week adaptation. You know, I was all about, when's our next cheat day? Because I'm a carb addict and sugar addict, and always have been. So I got to the next fucking cheat day, and each time I cheated, some of the weight came back. And then my situation changed, like I said before. I had a very stressful time period and a very problematic time period. And I dropped out of ketosis completely and left the ketogenic diet behind while increasing my fasting times to try and compensate. And I regained about, I would say, I went from 189 being my lowest. I averaged around 193, 194 for the majority of my ketogenic time. That's where my body wanted to be. That was my homeostasis set point right there, 193. It's probably the best I can hope for given the damage I've done to myself. But I regained weight, and I went all the way back up to 216 at the highest, and then I was like, oh fuck. So I upped my fasting time, and you guys who've been watching my recent videos, you know that's what I've been working on, getting it back down. 206.9 right now. It'll be interesting to see what I am in the morning, though. I'm probably around the same. Probably, I would say I'm good for 206 this week, but we'll see. So, what am I doing now? What decision have I made based on the book that I just read this week and the deposition that I'm in the middle of working my way through with Tim Noakes? I'm going keto again. I've decided to try and quit sugar and carbs and eat the way my DNA wants me to eat and not fight it anymore. You know, it's not going to be an easy journey for me because I love sugar. I love fucking cookies, oatmeal raisin fucking cookies. Even right now, I could probably beat off to all the things that I want to eat. But I need to cure myself of that. I smoked for a while too, that should be noted, from probably off and on throughout my 20s and in my childhood is when I first started smoking. I quit that. And the way I quit smoking was cold turkey. Stopped, went through my withdrawal period, and didn't look back. And now, after all the people I've watched die from cancer in my life, I pretty much am disgusted by it. I don't like it. I don't like seeing people I care about do it. I've gotten in fights and arguments with people I care about for doing it because that's how passionately against smoking I am at this point. I've learned to be a little more tolerant of people's rights to kill themselves with cancer, but at the same time, I don't like it. So I quit smoking. Drinking. Huge fucking problem with me. I get fucked up. I do fucked up things. I broke my leg because I was drunk. I did a lot of stupid shit in my life and probably jacked up my already fucked up liver even more by getting drunk all the time. And by all the time, I mean weekends mostly. I wasn't one of them fucking vodka and the coffee motherfuckers, but when it came to going to the goddamn bar at the end of the week after I'd done all my hard work, I damn sure was getting fucked up at the bar and spending hundreds of dollars and having hangovers and doing shit I regret. I'm done with that. And how did I do that? Cold turkey. Now the jury's still out. It's only been 3 months, but I am not having any desire. It's Friday night right now, and instead of going out drinking, I'm here talking to you guys about not drinking and not eating sugar and not doing all of the fucked up things that have got us to this point. Now, I don't feel I've done a good job explaining this here, so I'm going to cut this video off at the hour and a half mark-ish. And I'm going to encourage you to not take my word for it. Now, I want to continue to do videos about what I'm doing and the effects it's having and the ways I'm dealing with the shortcomings of certain things. Ketogenic diet is not perfect. There are things about it that I need to work through and figure out. One of which is there's not a lot of sweet in a ketogenic diet. You're allowed to have some berries within your 25 to 30 grams of carbs. I did the 50 gram of carb version, but I think I even need to restrict it down to 30 this time just to get myself unaddicted to sugar. Because you even have a little bit of sugar and you'll want more. And it'll trigger it. I've already cut out the Splenda, which I do believe was contributing to my sugar cravings and hunger, and maybe even led to binging a little bit on sugar. I've replaced it, actually. Just as I was about to take shit on Splenda, they came out with Splenda Naturals. And if you look at the ingredients on it, it's stevia and erythritol, which is the same as new stevia, which is the shit I used to use, which did not make me hungry, did not have any negative effects aside from gas. So I'm going to be farting a lot. And I already know that. I'm prepared for it. But Stevia Naturals is the new brand that just came out that has only those two ingredients. And in my opinion, those are probably the only two artificial sweetener ingredients that don't cause a whole lot of issues, especially when it comes to fasting. They're not caloric. Not the best, sweetest. There was a little bit of a taste. I noticed when I went from Splenda back to this, to the stevia / erythritol mixture, I noticed a slight aftertaste. I also know that as I drink it, in my coffee and do those things with it and mix it in with my Greek, full fat, unsweetened yogurt, as I mix it in with that, I know over time that aftertaste, I'll get used to it, it'll go away. So, another thing that should be noted that I figured out back in the day is when you're having new stevia or the stevia based sweetener and you eat something sugary, you no longer taste the stevia. When you, I had a coffee, because I don't drink sugar in my drinks, I had a coffee with new stevia in it one time, and then I went and ate a fucking cookie, and then I tried to wash it down with the coffee, and after eating the cookie, I couldn't taste the sweetness of the coffee. So that's interesting. I don't know why that is. I wish I knew. I hope that maybe I'll look into that. But there's not a lot of research on stevia-based sweeteners as of yet. Alrighty. So that's where I'm at. Now, for those of you who really stuck it out, my waist size was 36. As I regained my weight, my current waist size is 41.5 inches. I'm fucked right now. So I definitely got to do something. Something more than I've been doing. Fasting does not cure insulin resistance. It just takes away the things for a period of time and keeps your insulin down, but it doesn't repair the damage that we've done. And I've proven that with my weight regain. So if you thought fasting was a cure for insulin resistance, you'd be mistaken. I think insulin resistance is in our genetics. It's part of how we evolved to survive. And that by eating, this is my opinion, might be wrong, by eating a high carb, low fat diet, we are aggravating our insulin resistance and destroying the homeostasis that we are naturally able to achieve. And I think you will find if you try a ketogenic adaptation, which takes 4 to 6 weeks to really nail, and that's strict adherence, no cheating, to adapt, and you become fat adapted, I think you will find you don't have to count calories, which is why every low carb diet says, oh, you can eat it all you want. Because you're not going to want. Your body will determine how hungry you are based on your physical activity. If you go out and run a marathon and you're ketogenic, you're going to get hungry. And you're going to eat. And you're going to eat till you're full. And then you won't want to eat anymore. Try overeating. Go to an all-you-can-eat fucking protein buffet of any kind. I think the last one I did was an all-you-can-eat shrimp buffet, I didn't make it very far. I was the first motherfucker to drop out of that race. You want to know who was beating me? The carb burners. But even you carb burners, go and eat all you can eat and just eat meat and fat. And you will see that very quickly you won't eat that much. You know, why do you think they have these little fucking things where you get a free meal, you eat a couple pounds? Because it's something not everyone can pull off. When you give your body the foods that it is evolved to consume, it can take care of the rest. It will raise or lower your metabolism. It will drive you through hormones. And I know exactly what hormones that do this, by the way. Leptin. Ghrelin is for whether or not your stomach's full. Leptin tells you from your fat if you're full. Insulin is the storage hormone. You know, there's a group of hormones that take care of all of this. And they're supposed to, if they're working properly, keep your body weight at a normal, healthy level. And if you're eating what you were designed to eat, this goes to them people that are adapted to carb burning. Not too hard to figure out which one you are. Then you're fine. But if you're like me, and I wholeheartedly believe this at this point based on my personal experience and the research I've done, I'm not a carb burner. I'm a fucking carnivorous goddamn fat burner. Alright? I want fat and I want protein. You do not need to eat glucose or starch or sugar to live. Do you know why that is? Your motherfucking liver makes glucose out of fat and protein. And it only makes what you need. Gluconeogenesis. Look it up. It's right there on the fucking internets. So that's step one. Step two, if you're diabetic. Was shocking to me to find out. It was profound. If you're diabetic, your liver performs gluconeogenesis when it's not supposed to. It produces sugar regardless of the fact you ate sugar. I theorize it's because your liver insulin resistance is so bad that the liver can't fill up with glycogen and thus is stuck permanently trying to make it. Or there's some other factor that damages it. That's a theory of mine. Nobody's come out and really told me the truth on that yet. But there have been scientific studies done on diabetics versus non-diabetics and what happens when they are eating low carb, high fat with their liver's production of glucose, and also what happens when they eat high carb, low fat. And it showed that their liver still was doing gluconeogenesis regardless of the carbs they were eating. So that's a little nugget for you if you're a diabetic. Just because I'm doing this doesn't mean you can or will or want to do this. I recommend it, but I know that our current food environment isn't very supportive of that. Neither is our medical community. Neither are all them motherfuckers pounding fuckmasters in the gym. They are going to tell you you're full of shit. Personal trainers are going to take a dump on you. You know, nutritionists are going to tell you to go fuck yourself. And they're going to blog about you and how much you suck. But there's only one thing that you need to fucking listen to, and that's what happens when you do it. How do you react to this? Does it help you? Does it make you get that extra mile that you're just not going to be able to get without an extremely long fast? And even then, when you do the extremely long fast, it all comes back afterwards, and then you end up having to do another one, and then you're stuck in this cycle of having to do fucking 10 to 30 day fasts the rest of your life. What if there's a way where you only need to do a 20 to 23 hour fast? Did you know in Europe 400 years ago they used to only eat once a day? I didn't know that. food for thought, so to speak. So, remember, I'm sorry for this excessively long fucking video. I'm going to leave this one up a while for you to digest it. Hopefully, if you're already here, you've probably already watched it, but remember, I'm not an expert. I'm just an asshole. Do your research. Try it. If you feel like this is applying to you, that you feel you are insulin resistant, which is the core of all of these diseases. It's how it all started. If you think that that's you, what have you got to lose to try it? 6 weeks of your life. Keto adapt. And then see where you're at. See what it does for you. See if you can maintain it. See if your food environment is conducive to it. Not everyone has access to the foods necessary to do this diet. And it requires a lot of effort. You're going to have to police what you do in restaurants. You pretty much got to avoid most fast foods. And any meat and fat that you're eating at fast food places is heavily processed. And sometimes you might not even know if they're adding sugar to that. So it's a minefield. It's a battle that we need to fight if we're going to stay alive longer, or at least as long as our grandparents did. Which obviously only applies if your grandparents lived that long. But for the most part, most people I know, their grandparents got pretty old compared to our parents. And now we got kids with diabetes, and we got kids with morbid obesity. And I think that's a pretty strong indicator on how quickly the next 2 generations are going to die if we don't change our fucking diet. So take a good look at the young children today, especially the ones that clearly are insulin resistant. They're not hard to figure out who, but also keep in mind, just because you can't see it doesn't mean that they're out of the woods either. Because 40% of thin people also have these metabolic diseases caused by insulin resistance. Tim Noakes is a perfect example of it because he was a marathon runner, perfectly fit, sports medicine guru, got diabetes. So think about it. Hope I helped somebody with this incredibly long fucking video. So I am now doing a ketogenic challenge of 6 weeks, at which point I will sit down with you and tell you if I'm going to be able to stick it out. And hopefully I do. No cheating, no carb days. It's going to be rough. I got some social fucking shit coming up. I already had to tell my mom not to make fucking desserts for me no more. She ain't going to listen. There's going to be a dessert or something sitting around that I have to not eat. Fucking sucks. But I want to do it. I got to do it. Yeah, 41 inches around my waist. Around my belly button. Where my liver is. Probably not a good thing. Some people would be happy with the amount of weight loss I've achieved right now, but I'm not. I want to go all the way. I want my goal, new goal, not to see my abs. It's just to be healthy around my visceral fat, around my liver. I want my liver to heal. I don't even know if I can, but we'll see. I'm going to try. Because what harm is there in trying? Have a nice motherfucking day. And like and subscribe, and I'll make some more shit. Also in the comments, let me know what you thought of this really long video. It's just me talking mostly, and you guys seem to want more of that. So if you want more videos where I just kind of sit here and ramble on about this shit, go ahead and leave a comment. Tell me what you think, what you want. Alright, I'm gonna go slack because I drove 600 miles before I made this video, and I think I'm due for some R&R.